بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. In one hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, there's many hadiths which convey this message, that a person, his abode and his full ultimate result in the hereafter depends on his khatimah, how he dies. Whether he dies with iman, whether he dies with kufr and disbelief. And in the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says that sometimes a person, he does the amal of amalu ahlul jannah. His whole life, he does amal of ahlul jannah. But then at the last moment, something happens, last few years, last few days, last few moments, and he ends up doing amal of amalu ahlul nar. Similarly, the opposite way around, a person throughout his whole life, he may be doing amal not according to Islam, not on iman, but then last years, last moments, last days, he does an amal of ahlul jannah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants his jannah. And the reason this happens is because a person, he has his character. So it's not that he was an jannati in the dunya and he became, he did something wrong. It actually means that his character was of those of the people of Jahannam, but it was concealed and covered up. Inside he had those evil characteristics, and it is manifested later on in life. That's one hadith. There's also another saying where the Arabs say that if you see or somebody tells you a person's character has changed, then don't believe this. But if you believe, somebody tells you that a mountain has been moved, somebody moved a mountain, rock by rock, stone by stone, and they moved it, then you can believe this. This is more possible. So what the ulama of akhlaq have mentioned is that you have characteristics in a person. And there's two words in Arabic. One is called imala, one is called izala. What does izala mean? From azala yuzilu izalatan, to remove a character. So they say that to remove a characteristic is impossible. Allah has made people in certain characteristics. What you can do is amala yumilu imalatan. You can divert it and digress it. You can change it. You can kind of change its focus. So let's say, for example, a person, has a nature, is very loving. So now one possibility, this person falls in love in a haram way. This person falls into things which are makruh, dislike, useless love. Now this nature of this person having a very open heart and a very loving heart, you can't change this. What you have to do, you have to do imala. You have to try and direct this love to something that will bring benefit. Love of Allah, love of His Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, love of his parents, love of his family, love of husband, love of wife. But that loving characteristic, being very loving and caring and that can't go away. You can just redirect it. So these characteristics are permanent. And the third thing, the Arab, there's a very famous saying, it's very known from psychology as well, that التعليم في الصغر كالنقش في الحجر. That something that you do when you're young, whether it's your education, the things you learn, the language you speak, the akhlaq, the character you're taught, the morals and the things that you were taught, these remain in you for a very, very long time. They're like engraving on a rock. So when you engrave something in cement, when it's wet, you engrave something inside, it leaves a mark. And when it dries up, that's there, you can't change that. You have a tile, the bonding is moist. You can adjust the tile this way, you can adjust it a bit slightly, lean it a bit, you can adjust it. Once the cement or the tiling and the bonding becomes hard, then that's permanent. It's very hard. You have to break the whole tile out, you have to undo the bonding. It's not going to work. It's just very hard. So what you learn when you're young, and these things remain in you for a very long time. So the three things. One is, we have characteristics in our heart, and the characteristics that we have, they will come out and manifest themselves at time of death, time of difficulty, time of hardship. Number two is that when you learn something when you're young, it remains you for a very long time. And the third thing is, you remember that Arabs say, Al-mar'u ala dini khalilihi. That the people you associate yourselves with, you will become like them. It's very, very hard not to adapt, to change, not to become influenced by those around you. Just 3 points I want to mention. How do you point with these 3 points? So from the last 2 weeks, I was in last two weeks and a bit, I went Umrah. I met my two brothers. So over the last 2 weeks, so last 24 years I've been living in England. I've been trying to speak slowly, trying to speak correctly, avoid the Bajan accent. Over the last 2 weeks, everything went down the drain. All the English, because why? these three things came back to play. So these three very important points I want to explain to you in a bit of a funny way. The first thing is, you might think, oh, Manana speaks, because it's slightly accent. But what you learn when you're young, the first language, it's not a good thing or a bad thing, but the first language you learn, you'll always remember. Somebody comes from India, Gujarati is their first language, so they always have this accent. So I got this Bajan accent. But that language that you learn when you're young, you can't forget it. So whether you speak it or not, the whole year you speak it or not, 4 years, 5 years, you don't go back to Barbados, it's inside of you. What language I learned when I was younger, you can never forget that. It just comes back naturally. You don't have to practice, you don't have to refresh your vocabulary, you don't have to refresh the accents or the sarfi ta'alilat in the Barbadian, it just comes back to you naturally. So when you are young, or you are adult and you have young children, you have to remember that the things that you teach your children when they're young, it will automatically remain very, very embedded in your heart. It's good or it's bad, it doesn't make a difference. They will never forget these things. Everything you say, everything you do, the memories you instill in their heart, good, bad, the character you instill, the morals you instill, what they see you doing, all of these things will remain in you even after they get old. Even if they have to forget it, when they get old and they forget what they've learned, it'll still be inside of them somewhere in the back of their memory. So those of you who are younger, you're not children anymore, but some of you are still teenagers, you're still in the late teens, early teens. This has a very, very profound impact on you. What you do right now will remain in you. You can't forget it. The same way I can't forget my Bajan, you cannot forget your character you know when you're younger. It's always inside of you. And if you're an adult, don't say, oh, they're only small kids, it doesn't matter. Yes, you're not going to overreact to small things because they're still learning. But you have to take it important. What goes into their ears, what goes into their minds, what they see, what they speak. All of these things, take it very, very seriously. That look, they're a child, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Whatever you put into their minds right now, it will last with you for a very, very long time. So that's the first thing. When you learn when you're younger, you can never forget it. So the example of a language is the thing. Second thing is, your friends. So who you associate yourselves with. So if you associate yourselves with people who are speaking this language, English, like the Leicester language or the English language, even though it's not 100% proper English, you speak that language because that's how you speak. And then you try for a while. So when we were in London for 3 days before we went for Umrah, so you had a bit of English, a bit of Barbadian, so trying to say, okay, when I'm here I'm going to speak Bajan, when I speak here I'm going to speak English. And then you kind of control it, But when there's 3 of us, and 3 of us Bajans, so then you revert back to your youth, and then it's like, what's the point of speaking English? Your family, you have friends around you, both of them are speaking normal Bajan, so then speak like that. So the friends you're around, you just adapt. It's natural. It makes no sense, or it's almost like too hard to try to just resist. What's the point of me trying to speak in like a certain language, a certain English, when everybody's speaking differently? Similarly, when you have friends around you, whether they're good, if they're good friends, like everybody's studying, so now you have to be very, very lazy or very, very like disinterested. That everybody's doing mutala, everybody's revising for exams. You don't want to revise, and everybody's around you. Somebody's swearing, somebody's have foul language, talking about illicit relations, it's very, very almost impossible. Afterwards, you'll just give in and you'll become involved in that. So the friends you associate yourselves with, the company that you have, it will always automatically, without your choice, it will have an effect on you. No matter how much you try, it will have an effect on you. The thinking that you have, just the thinking that you have, the way you approach, you can say, oh, it's not going to affect me. It will. The people who you choose to be with, the company will affect you in a good way or a bad way, or even not even a good and a bad. Just the choice of foods you have. I don't know any Malaysian food because I don't sit with Malaysians. If Huzaifa was here, he'd take me up to Malaysia for a trip. Then what will happen? We say, oh, this is this Fulan Malaysian food, and Fulan. We'll learn about Malaysian food. We don't have anything about this. Those people who associate themselves with particular type of things, you start to learn about them. They talk about it. So it'd be even good, not even this worldly things, and they're also in good. People are honest, hardworking, motivate you, automatic. So the company you're in, they'll affect everything. So this as the language will change. So in terms of the English or Bajan, no fadila in any one of them. But in terms of quality of language, are they kind, are they polite, are they humble, are they caring, that will affect you. And number 3 is that the same way when you have this intrinsic characteristic for years or for many times I don't speak Bajan because I don't interact with them. But the madda is inside of you. What's inside of you? The root things inside of you. You may have pride inside of you. And you might think, oh, it's fine. I can't do anything, nothing happens. But when the time comes, it's inside of you. If you don't do islah, you don't rectify your character, what's going to happen? Your anger will burst out one day. So where does this come from? It came because it was inside of him, but nothing happened to instigate it. When it's instigated, then it comes out. Oh, I didn't know he had that much anger inside of him. A person that has hate inside of him. Oh, I didn't know he was so hateful, has so much vengeance inside of him. So, but why did you not notice it? Because there was no need, there was no motivation, nothing to instigate or aggravate the vengeance. But it's inside of you, the bad character. But when the time comes, it can be aggravated. So that's why, even though we're doing good character, we're doing good a'mal right now. Even though we're doing good a'mal right now, okay, we perform salah, we're doing our talabul ilm, what could happen? Before we pass away, if that same, the same my is inside of me somehow or the other, and it comes out from nowhere. Similarly, if you have bad character inside of you, you have filth, you have hatred, you have all these things, Shaitan can just pull these out from nowhere. You're like, oh, I didn't even know this. I didn't even know this. I didn't even know they had this character. That's why we should never be ma'moon. Never be saying, oh, I'm doing good, because you don't know what's inside of you. Shaitan can pull it out at time of he might manipulate your anger, your hatred, your malice, all of these things, pull it out from inside of you. At the time of death then, or weeks, months, a few years before your death, he leads you down the wrong path. So that's why you're always very, very careful. Number one, when you're young, you remember, it has a very great impact on you. Number two, the company you surround yourself with will automatically have an effect on you. It doesn't matter what it is. You can be, for years you're on a particular amal. People have a relapse, alcohol, addiction, drug addiction. You have a boyfriend, a girlfriend before. You come back in that environment, you can slip again. Just like my tongue slipped. I'm back to Bajan. Yes, I went slipped so bad that my brother said, Hashim, talking too fast, man. Talk slowly. So even they found it that I was speaking too fast again. So total relapse. Yes? So you get relapse. And number three, when you have the madda inside of you, when you have the madda inside of you of certain quality, it can come out. But you don't know inside of you, anger, just rectify yourself. If not, it can come out when you don't expect it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these few little points I learned here in this lesson, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make sure that all of us are young, we learn good characteristics, we instill good characteristics and good things in our children. Number two, associate yourself with good friendship. And number three, always be fearful of your khatimah. What is inside of you, the evil, it can come out very easily. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala God talk to us. Subhanallah wa bihamdi subhanaka wa bihamdika. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. There was one, if you want to go, you can go now. This is a bit of a joke now. Hazrat Raipuri rahmatullahi alayhi. So, Malana Ilyas rahmatullahi alayhi. He used to go, da'wah, tabligh, to go and call people, trying to get people from the Mewat. So what happened was, he started up the tabligh jamaat because he used to see people like, some people become Hindus. People are leaving religion, they don't know the kalima. So he's trying to get the people, come to the masjid, come somehow there. He spent a lot of time with them, trying to get them back onto Islam, trying to get them to understand, learn salah, how to do kalima again. They're completely gone, some people. So he used to spend a lot of time with them. And we used to spend time with them. He used to say that, it has an effect on my heart. So he used to go to Hazrat Raipuri rahmatullahi alayhi, which is his teacher. And so I spent time in his company, so that time I spent in that environment, it kind of affects on my heart. I could feel a bit of a thing. So when I spent time with Hazrat Raipuri rahmatullahi alayhi, it used to help me recover spiritually from the difficult hardship I was going through. So I told my brothers, I was 2 weeks with you guys, my tongue has gone back. So I have to go and spend 2 weeks in the countryside somewhere in England, and start, those country people speaking posh English, and start sipping tea. So I go and spend khanka 2 weeks somewhere in the countryside to get my English back to average again, inshallah. So I shall have some kajur zamzam. I send some upstairs as well, inshallah.